It's 30 days since the attack on the AK-9 Abuja-Kaduna bound train by terrorists, which left 8 persons dead and hundreds of people abducted. Arise News can exclusively report that 2 pregnant women aboard that train are in the terrorist den, and one of them has given birth. We can also report that the terrorists are demanding the release of their top commanders in exchange for the abducted train passengers. Arise correspondent Nissi Gabriel reports.
March 28, 2022, tragedy struck the nation. An Abuja-Kaduna-bound train was attacked by terrorists in Captivity, State.
Bring us our life back, please. We're appealing to the government.
There was an outpouring of grief, anger, and sadness by Nigerians over the deaths of some promising citizens aboard the ill-fated train.
Accede to what the populace are talking.
2 weeks after the incident, a video surfaced and over 30 kidnapped victims could be seen pleading with the federal government to meet the demands of the abductors. Credible sources close to Arise News say the attack on the ill-fated train was carried out by several terrorist faction groups, and the leaders of these groups speak Kanuri, a common language in northern Nigeria. According to sources, the terrorists are from the northeast region and they are backed by the deadly Islamic State group ISWAP. Arise News can exclusively report that the leaders of these groups say they do not want ransom from relatives of the kidnapped victims or the federal government, but they want something else. They are demanding the release of their top commanders and sponsors in detention in exchange for the abducted train passengers. Our sources say there are indications that terrorist sponsors in government detentions have strong ties with Boko Haram. If released, they would cause a bigger security threat to the nation. Arise News further gathered that a woman who was 8 months pregnant before her abduction has delivered her baby with the help of doctors brought in by the terrorists. But the survival of the newly born is still in doubt. Family sources say the terrorists are organized and coordinated. How they could get medical supplies and doctors into the forest remains shocking. We gather that these terrorists subject their victims to daily torture and untold hardship and have allowed them to speak to their relatives just once. Families of the kidnapped train passengers have continued to protest the government's prolonged silence on the release of their loved ones. They'll be holding a press conference in Abuja and Kaduna, demanding to hear from the government about the status of their loved ones in captivity. However, from all indications, negotiations between the federal government and terrorists who attacked the ill-fated train are ongoing, but it's yet unclear if their demands will be met or not. Nissi Gabriel, Arise News, Kaduna.
Okay, we hope to cross live to Kaduna and speak with our correspondent, but unfortunately we cannot do that now. However, we do have a security expert, Dr. Kabiru Adamu, who joins us now. My producer seems to be telling me that our correspondent Nissi is back. Nissi, do we have you? Great. Okay. Nissi, yes, fantastic report. Great to see you. Fantastic report you put together there. And I mean, just to think that it's 1 month already since that train incident happened. And I'm just as many Nigerians are wondering how sophisticated these terrorists have become. You say in that report that they brought in doctors to deliver a pregnant woman. Are you able to understand this, Nissi, better for us? Tell us, how did this happen?
Well, Adeswa, it's a month already, 30 days on, and the AK-9 abducted passengers are still in captivity. They are still in the terrorist den. And like you rightly said, it's shocking. According to family sources, we gathered that the woman who was 8 months pregnant before her abduction was successfully delivered her child through the help of doctors. And what's shocking to many is how the bandits were able to get medical supply and how they were able to bring in medical doctors to actually help this woman deliver her child. So it goes to a large extent to show that these groups are sophisticated, these groups are coordinated, and they actually know what they're doing, because our sources also told us that these groups have engineers with them, they have doctors with them, and it goes to a large extent to show that they are really coordinated and organized. Adeswa.
Yes, indeed, Nissi Gabriel. Well, the terrorists have said they're not interested in money. What they want is for government to to give them the commanders in exchange for their kidnapped victims. What are you hearing, both from the state government and the federal government, about the possibility at all, remotely or otherwise, of meeting this terrorists halfway?
Well, at the moment, Ngozi, information that's still very sketchy, but we do know, the last we heard was that the federal government negotiations are ongoing, but the demands of these terrorists are too big for the government to actually yield to, because they are demanding, like you rightly said, for the federal government to release their sponsors who are in detention in exchange for the abducted passengers. So it's shocking. And there are also fears that if this happens, they might cause a bigger, huge problem in the nation. Eventually, if these persons are released, that's the point I was trying to make. So what we are hearing is that negotiations are ongoing, but we also heard that the negotiation eventually was stalled because of the demands of the terrorists. But we are hopeful, and the families of the abducted passengers are also hopeful that indeed, sooner rather than later, something positive will yield out from all that is happening.
Well, yeah. What are you hearing from the families? Of course, we saw in that report, in your report, the distraught, families there. Are they impressed? Are they happy with the way the state government or even the federal government has been handling the situation 1 month after their abduction?
Well, to be honest with you, Ngozi, the family feel the grief, anguish, and as you all know, this is Ramadan period, and many of them are fasting. And you can imagine the pain, the agony, the suffering, those who are abducted, who are in the bush, who are scattered in the bush, because from what we also gathered, our sources told us that these terrorists have 3 camps in the bush, and these persons are scattered in the bush. Come rain, come sunshine, they are there. And it's so pathetic because the families are in deep pain. What we also know is that the families will be holding a press briefing tomorrow in Abuja-Kaduna to mount further pressure on the federal government to release their loved ones from in captivity sooner rather than later. We also know that here in Kaduna, most of the families have submitted a report, statement of they've submitted a report to the police here in Kaduna State, intimating them that they will be protesting in the coming days. So we are hoping to see that after the press briefing tomorrow, in the coming days, a peaceful protest will be held and organized here in Kaduna State, just to create awareness and to further mount pressure on the federal government that these persons in captivity need to be released real soon.
Thank you so much. Nissi Gabriel, our correspondent there in Kaduna, 1 month after that train incident.